Welcome to the Badass Breastfeeding Podcast. I'm Dianne, your lactation consultant.
And I'm Abby, the Badass Breastfeeder. And today's episode is brought to you by The Nuzzle by Mama's Milk Wrap. The Nuzzle is a moist heat therapy or cold compression therapy breastfeeding aid that will stay with you throughout your entire nursing journey and beyond. And today's episode is also brought to you by Fairhaven Health. If you love lactation tea but hate the taste, nursing time tea is just for you. And we'll hear more from these sponsors later. But right now, let me tell you that if you need anything, please head to our sponsors page because the sponsors are what making this podcast happen. So if you can find anything that you need there, that would be great. Give them some business. That's at badassbreastfeedingpodcast.com. And while you're at badassbreastfeedingpodcast.com, you can scroll down, enter your email address, and we will send the email with the episode in it every Monday when it's published. I can see you people are doing that. You people. I can see that our friends are doing that because I see the numbers going up. So thank you. And yeah, it's a lot easier than having to find us every week. And now Dianne has our review of the week.
Yes, I do. It is from Sarah, and she sent us an email through our badassbreastfeedingpodcast.com email. And she says, "Hi, Dianne and Abby. I've wanted to send you a review for a long time since I'm such a huge fan. I gave birth in August to a beautiful baby boy, but before the birth, I managed to listen to every single episode you had put out. I knew I wanted to breastfeed and was determined to make it work. Thanks to the stellar information and supportive tone of your podcast, I was able to conquer the following challenges: uncertain milk supply from a breast reduction, delayed access to pump because of COVID and an earlier than expected birth, avoidance of interventions and medications during birth, use of and then later weaning off of a nipple shield, bottle supplementation, poor response to a pump, nipple pain, poor milk transfer due to late diagnosed tongue tie, infant sleep fear-mongering, and incomplete and misinformed medical professionals. We overcame it all, and by 2.5 months, we had established a supplementation, pumping, pain-free breastfeeding relationship with a safe bed-sharing arrangement. At 4 months, our baby is thriving, and despite an around-the-clock 2-hour eating schedule, the family is sleeping and thriving too. Thank you for all you do. I recommend you to everyone I know." And I love this. She's been amazing. I had the opportunity to meet with Sarah and her beautiful family, and they are amazing. You know, they are doing whatever needed to be done. And this is a baby that does eat more frequently because she wants to breastfeed and she wants him to have her milk. So she feeds him every 2 hours. And I don't know how she would do it without breast sleeping.
Yes. Well, you don't need to because it's biologically normal. And we're going to talk about that.
Yeah, so here we go. But yes, so thank you, Sarah. I'll put that out there. But thank you, Sarah. And I'm so glad you had time to send the review. And if you would like to send us reviews, or would you put it on iTunes? Because that would be great. We can really use it on iTunes to help boost our ratings a little bit. But we'll take them by email too, because I love to get the little fan mail. And
Dianne fan mail.
Let's talk about breast sleeping.
And Dianne fan mail. She likes that.
My kids are very, they're very impressed with that. So please, let
my kids are so unimpressed.
Somebody in the eye of my children. You know, they're like, "What are you doing, Mom?" I'm like, "I'm answering emails." They're like, "Oh, you're famous." Yeah, real famous.
So breast sleeping, yes. So there's an article that James McKenna, I'm sure you know James McKenna now because I say his name a lot. Dr. James McKenna, he's the director of the director of the Mother Baby Sleep Laboratory at Notre Dame, and he's been doing decades of research on mothers and babies sleeping, which I just imagine the laboratory, just like moms tired sleeping with their babies, and then just watching them and creating, these amazing theories. And he's a huge, co-sleeping advocate for reasons that are just, this is the norm. This is a human species. This is a norm within the human species. Or we live in a culture and a time where we're told that it's not. We're told that falling asleep at the breast is bad habit and all this stuff. Well, so James McKenna wrote this article, and just from the title alone, I love it so much. The title is, "There is no such thing as infant sleep. There is no such thing as breastfeeding. There is only breast sleeping."
Love it.
That's the title. So listen, he's saying that the conversations that we have about infant sleep, that we have about breastfeeding, he's like, knock it off. You're talking about these things as if they're separate. And they are not. They are biologically so intertwined and functionally dependent that he's suggesting this new term, breast sleeping, to highlight really that these things are really dependent on each other. And, you know, the term he wants this term to be used because it's freaking glasses. I was complaining last week about my new glasses. I'm going to complain again. He says that he proposes this new term to highlight the critical role that immediate and sustained maternal contact plays in the establishment of breastfeeding. And the fact that normal human species-wide infant sleep can only be derived from studies of breastfeeding dyads because they are so completely intertwined and dependent on each other. And so completely vastly different from non-breastfeeding dyads that they need to be studied separately. And finally, his final proposal of this term is, well, that's what I just said. They're so vastly different. Okay, that's the third one. So yeah, he's saying that he's saying like, you passed evolutionary theorists and attachment theorists. That's great. You did great work. But what you missed was the absolute centrality of breastfeeding in our evolution. And so he goes to rave on about this Elsie Mobbs, who is a clinical psychologist she's now deceased, a clinical psychologist and lactation consultant out of Australia, which is so much good stuff coming out of Australia from our friends down under. Thank you very much for all your awesome people and research. So he raves about her research where she talks about imprinting. And imprinting is described or defined as, I'm going to pull it up here and just keep talking, act like I know this off the top of my head, which I don't. I'm totally going to read it. Imprinting is the behavioral process that takes place during a sensitive period in the early hours of life, during which the baby's evolutionary biology enables it to orally fixate to a stimulus feature, normally the mother's nipple and the surrounding milking area, and learn its tactile characteristics. And they say this is the first step in attachment and the central focus of the human evolution of our species. So there.
I love the imprinting.
Yeah.
I love it. I heard that at a conference once where I don't even remember who it was. It was so long ago. Said that, if a baby breastfeeds, how we always say, okay, the baby's born and we like them to go to breast as soon as we, within the first hour after birth. They're right there skin to skin with the mom. They're like, oh yeah, that baby, they're not going to have any kind of like nipple confusion that's been imprinted on them.
Right. And I wonder when we have, because, like my kids, I hear this from a lot of breastfeeding parents that their kids won't take a pacifier. I wonder if that's part, and like, that must be related to that it's just like, what is this? This isn't I don't recognize this as what's supposed to be in my mouth right now. So get out.
Yeah. This is odd. Mm-hmm.
And so, sorry.
No, that's okay. I was just going to say what I love from this article is how they really talk about how the mother and the baby are so interconnected to each other. Like not just physiologically, but the mother's body physically changes to regulate the infant. And we are separating that.
So yeah, right. They're talking about your baby is born. Your body is the only environment that they're adapted to.
Correct.
And then someone will, that's a bad habit. I mean, they need to learn independence. No. And then that goes on to how we talk about like human evolution. We used to, as early humans or, just mammals, carry our young longer. The gestation period was longer. And as we became more, as we evolved, probably because we became more upright, and the stress of our stress of the strain of that on our bodies and the interference with the birth canal, that it's now between our legs. The gestation period got shorter, right? And so then we have, as humans, some of the most immature newborns of any species. And so this is what we talk about when we're talking about like the fourth trimester, right? We're saying this is a time where in our evolutionary history, we would have still been inside. We wouldn't have been born yet. And so we try to focus on this keeping, this like kangaroo care or keeping baby, close skin to skin. And that part of our evolution is what created these like village type settings where there's food sharing and there's childcare sharing. And we've become so highly responsive to our newborns because we have some of the most immature ones, and we need to be. You see a horse give birth, a horse stands up and walks away. It's like, okay, this is like, okay, that's not our experience. Like, our babies are so dependent on us for life. They're dependent on our bodies to survive. That's the only environment that they're born adapted to. And why then we sleep with our babies so that they're with us and protected 24/7, And I just think it's so fascinating that this is an evolutionary process. This isn't just like, and then we have these freaking campaigns that are like, oh, don't co-sleep. Okay. This is not just something that you can just take away.
It is so foreign to the baby.
Yes, and damaging. It's so damaging to be separating newborns like this. And he talks about these campaigns and how these campaigns are like, first of all, they're not working because we are animals. And we are going to people, despite these campaigns to stop co-sleeping and bed sharing, people continue to do it because it's part of us. It's part of who we are. It's part of who we are as a species, and we are not going to stop. And so he says these campaigns aren't working anyway. They're not working. What we need and what science shows us is that can you hear my my papers like flipping? I'm like, where's this? Keep talking so I can find the section. Oh, yeah. So these anti-bed sharing campaigns, they undermine breastfeeding, first of all, which we've already established is so important towards attachment and central to the baby's development of their brain and their bodies and everything. And they block, and these anti-bed sharing campaigns, all they do is block people from getting information about how to do it safely. Because bed sharing is not unsafe. There are unsafe things that human people do that can make sleeping with their babies unsafe, but bed sharing is not unsafe. And what we know from the last episode, we did the how to safely co-sleep just a few weeks ago. And what we know from that is that these anti-bed sharing campaigns came up and have become so fear-mongering and so strict and simplistic because there are certain populations that they are trying to reach. They're trying to get information like, if we go see the episode for all of the like details about how to safely co-sleep. So we don't have to do it again here when we're talking about something else. But, if you had like a healthy pregnancy and a full-term baby and you don't, you're not drinking, you're not doing drugs, you're not, have this, you have your bed set up safely. There are people, of course, who are not, who are being unsafe in these ways. And these campaigns are trying to reach those people. Okay. I get it. But it's also not working because people are continuing to bring babies into the bed. And instead of saying like across the board, don't bed share, he's saying we need a safe bed sharing campaign. We need to get the information out about there about how to do it because people, he's saying like people, despite all of this, people are continuing to bed share because it's part of us. And we get more
Because we're
sleep.
realizing
And
that's how you
we get
sleep.
more sleep and we protect our babies and it feels good. It doesn't feel weird and wrong, like those feelings of your baby sleeping in another room. Of course, I know that there's people who really enjoy that and that works for you. Fine. But like for a lot of people, it's like horrible feeling to have your baby down the hallway. It's hard to sleep. It's nerve-wracking. You're like, what's going on in there? And people have these monitors with the videos on it and they're staring at it. And it's like, just bring the baby to you.
We're taking choices away. There are people that are so fearful because their choices have been taken away from them.
But they don't know what to do.
Told,
right.
This is where your baby should sleep. And it interrupts breastfeeding. It interrupts sleeping. It interrupts so much bonding and attachment and milk supply.
Well,
it's just
it's not, and it also creates these unsafe situations, right? Like where people know that they are going to get more sleep if they just let their baby sleep attached to their breast. And so they're told all of this fearful stuff about sleeping in their bed. So then they go to the recliner, they go to the couch. And these are unsafe situations that can cause the baby to suffocate. Instead of just creating a safe situation on your mattress and going to sleep.
One of the parts of this article I wanted to definitely talk about, and we can do that after we hear from our sponsors. Oh my God,
already? I'm not even halfway done with all the things I have to say. Oh my God, okay.
Abby loves this topic.
Can you tell? Okay. We'll be right back. Today's episode is brought to you by The Nuzzle by Mama's Milk Wrap. The Nuzzle is a non-ingestible breastfeeding aid that will stay with you throughout your entire nursing journey and beyond. It offers a moist heat therapy or cold compression therapy. Moist heat therapy or cold compression therapy. It wraps around your body and connects in the back with adjustable straps. Heat it up in the microwave, then align it to your nipples for hands-free pumping with heat therapy to aid in the letdown. Women are reporting that their milk outputs increase, sometimes doubles. The Nuzzle's patent-pending design conforms comfortably to your body. For cold therapy, simply put it in the fridge or the freezer and apply the compression therapy. The cold helps to soothe early postpartum swollen sore breasts. The wrap can be used anytime for any part of your body. Each wrap comes with a one-time free 30-minute lactation consultation with an approved lactation expert. Check out The Nuzzle by Mama's Milk Wrap at mamasmilkwrap.com and use promo code BADASS for 10% off your purchase. That's mamasmilkwrap.com and use code BADASS for 10% off your purchase. And The Nuzzle can now be found on Amazon and at Walmart. Awesome. And today's episode is also brought to you by Fairhaven Health. Do you love lactation tea but hate the taste? Often nursing teas can taste earthy, which is my favorite way of saying dirt. Fairhaven Health Nursing Time Tea is a caffeine-free, all-natural herbal lactation tea with a light lemon taste that you won't need to choke down. Nursing Time Tea is made with herbs such as fennel seed, goat's rue, and blessed thistle that have been used for centuries to support healthy milk supply and soothe an upset tummy. All ingredients are high-quality, organic, wild-crafted, and contain no preservatives or additives. Nurture yourself and your milk supply with Nursing Time Tea. It can be made hot or cold, which is awesome for when you forget about it. It's a great way to maintain your hydration while supporting your milk supply. Head to fairhavenhealth.com and use promo code BADASS for 15% off your purchase. That's FAIRHAVEN health.com, promo code BADASS for 15% off of your purchase. And these sponsors and these promo codes can be found in our show notes under this episode at badassbreastfeedingpodcast.com. Our show notes will also include some future exciting things going to happen. No, right now, they include further information about things we talked about in this episode. All the things Abby didn't get to say before time was up. And at badassbreastfeedingpodcast.com, you will also find our breastfeeding resources as well as all of our other episodes and information about scheduling your very own one-on-one online lactation consultation with Dianne.
Yes.
And I have our shout out of the week, which is on Instagram. You can find her at The Vagina Chronicles. It is Aiyana D. Black Midwife. Again, at Instagram, on Instagram, it's at Vagina Chronicles and thevaginachronicles.com. Providing facts, breaking myths, discussing all things vagina and power. Certified nurse, midwife, women's health nurse practitioner. And this is a feed, again, that's filled with all kinds of facts about birthing and your vagina and, just busting myths. And it's really cool. So follow her at the Vagina Chronicles on Instagram. And in her little, at thevaginachronicles.com, you can find more about her. And also in her bio on Instagram, there's all kinds of awesome little, links to more information like birth and pregnancy during COVID-19, midwifery tip sheets, and postpartum mood disorder tip sheet. So there's lots of resources here. So yeah.
Awesome.
Okay. That's all I got. Back to breast sleeping.
All right. So let me say this real quick because it's really fun. So in this article, it says, because I did highlight a bunch of stuff.
Sorry.
No. Reducing same surface co-sleeping, a more generic term than problematic usage of bed sharing, to a singular risk factor is itself problematic because it is clear that outcomes depend on exactly how the same surface co-sleeping is being practiced and by whom. So that is like saying, oh, Abby, you're going to go on a plane trip across the country to see your relative. Well, your plane's going to crash.
Because it happened a couple times. Yeah.
Right.
Even though in those situations, there were very specific things that happened that caused the crash, which don't apply to all airplanes and all, airline safety. Right. That's a great analogy.
Exactly. Yeah. So we never really talk about it like that. We just say, oh, you're sleeping with your baby, then your baby's going to die. Like, that's just how.
Right. We make bed sharing and
that's what everybody thinks. That's what people think. And that's why they get so terrified to even say to somebody, this is how I'm getting sleep. Can you give me some information on how to do it safely? And it is just biologically normal, which is why it's so hard to not do it. And we're just like screwing up the whole evolutionary process.
Yeah. Here. And he even says, recall that according to the principles of evidence-based medicine, epidemiological data are supposed to generate testable hypotheses before such data are translated into population-wide public health recommendations. So he's like, these agencies that are calling for bed sharing to stop don't even have the evidence that they're supposed to have before we make these big recommendations.
Right. Right. And
right. And he says, hey, I have an idea. What if we include parents and scientists in this conversation? Gee, Oh my God.
Crazy thought.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
You mean that we should empower parents to have a discussion? Because God, you can't even talk to parents about bed sharing anymore because everyone lies. It's so hard to create studies now because everyone's lying about where the baby sleeps because they're so scared that they're going to get in trouble.
Well, not even that. Not even the bed sharing part of it or the breast sleeping part of it. You have people telling you the baby shouldn't even fall asleep while they're breastfeeding.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And the imprinting thing. So this imprinting, we talked about imprinting, right? And so Mobs in this article about imprinting, which we can link. We can't link the James McKenna article because we can link the link. But it's actually one of these things that you have to pay. It's an academic article. You have to pay for access. It was like $7 for me to access it for 48 hours. So if you're interested in reading it that much, I highly suggest it. And you have $7 laying around, which I know a lot of people don't. But anyway, the imprinting thing, Mobs says that the imprinted object is the one suckled or sucked when baby is passaging to sleep. So actually falling asleep at the breast, falling asleep while suckling is how the imprinting is happening. This is how attachment is forming. This is the first step. And we're telling people it's a bad habit and we're making them take the boob out of their mouth and try to get their babies to sleep without it. It's insane. This is like
Put them down, drowsy but
oh
awake,
my God.
so that they can learn how to fall asleep on their own at the age of, like, 2 months.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't know how, like, I don't remember my babies going to sleep without it as babies.
No, but
You
you
know,
got people
like,
working double
how
time
do
to
you
figure it out because they're like, oh my God, I'm damaging my baby. When we have scientists who nobody will listen to saying, no, wait. This is part of our biology. This is very important for the infant. This is like central to the development. I love the term absolute centrality. This is what he says in the article. He says Mobs is the only one who is like really, really noted the absolute centrality of sleeping at the breast.
I mean, we've kind of taken this whole evolutionary process, right? And we've said, okay, breastfeeding is a way that you've chosen to feed your child, but you can only do it at certain times in certain places and under certain conditions. Nobody's looking at the fact that this is a huge attachment piece. It is evolutionary, it's psychological, it's physiological, and to separate that is very hard for the baby. And it's hard for the moms. Because I have moms that are like, oh my gosh, this is really hard. Like, they're telling me, okay, put my baby down. Don't let my baby fall asleep at the breast. Put your baby in another room to sleep. Put your baby, and that's a really difficult thing for me to do. Okay, then don't do it. Do what feels right for you.
Right. This is the information that people need, is doing what feels right. Because usually what feels right is what is the biological need.
But why do we not want our
Right.
babies attached? I don't understand that. Like, that is one thing I just don't really get, and I never really got that. Like, people say, well, I don't want the baby attached to me.
Yeah, that's kind of necessary to not have like complete lunatics.
Right.
Like, look around. Is this
then we're
working?
talking about, like, right. Then we're going to have a society of Charlie
already
Mansons.
do.
Like, that's what's going to happen.
So Elsie Mobbs, who we love, and James McKenna loves, she says also, this is a quote from her article: the behavioral and health risks resulting from impairment of this defining mammalian relationship deserve attention, as there is considerable contrary information provided by multinational commercial interests. So here we go. Now let's start looking for blame, because I like people to blame. Capitalism. Again, we have capitalism as the central part of, how the world is operating, especially the Western world. Well, no, that's not true. The world is operating. And, they're targeting parents and babies and destroying something that's absolutely necessary for our evolution.
Mm-hmm. Your baby doesn't know. That's why they cry when you put them down. They don't know. They're not reading these articles.
And Mobs talks about how distressing it is, to be separated from the imprinted object, whatever it is, actually.
I mean, it was really just them, being sad that they're away from the person that they love.
Well, and they've got this imprinted, your body is their environment that they're adapted to. Your breast is what they're imprinting, is being imprinted. And you take that away, that's distressing. That is like biologically, physiologically distressing to them. They're not just crabby, they're not spoiled. They're not, using you. They're not manipulating you. It's distressing.
And this is stuff that we don't expect you to know, right? Because you get pregnant, you have a baby, all the things you read, all the things you see, all the things that, like you said, the capitalism, you walk into Bye Bye Baby, there's like a zillion things. Like, it is so overwhelming in that store. The amount of stuff that there is for babies is unbelievable. And you think, okay, I'm going to feed my baby and put them in this cool thing, wrap them up swaddled as if somebody's holding them. That's what a swaddle is, by the way. It really is just the baby thinking somebody's still holding them. And put them in this cool chair that's going to rock them, like as if they were being held by somebody. And that's it. But your baby doesn't like it. And then we're like, well, why doesn't our baby like all this cool
Right,
stuff?
because the box says
I don't
it's supposed
understand.
to, and my doctor said it's supposed to, and my doctor said that, all these things. It's
Your baby doesn't know. And I remember being at somebody's house one time, and she was like, well, the baby cries every time I put him down and try to go do the dishes. And I'm like, well, yeah,
that's what happened to me.
because they don't know that you're going
Yeah,
to do the dishes. They
that's
need
what
you
was going
here.
on with Jack. They kept telling me to put him down, kind of awake. Not kind of sleepy, but not all the way sleepy. That magical place where you put them down and they just fall asleep on their own. I don't know. I never found it. Every time I put him down, he cried. And I was like, our baby's broken. I can't do this. There's something wrong with him. Something is wrong. And I was
Yeah,
Googling.
because they tell you that this is what
Exactly.
they're going
They
to
were like,
do.
you need to do this and your baby will do this. And he wasn't doing it. And I know some babies do because it's also a personality thing, right? Some babies are just like,
Mhm.
so sleepy. They're just
Right.
like, okay, I'm here. I just got to sleep, man. I'm just sleepy. And some kids are very highly sensitive and everything in between. And Jack wasn't having it. And I was sure that something was wrong with me and the baby.
Yeah. You're doing something. Your baby's not doing this, then you're
Right.
doing something
And
wrong.
it's like perpetuated too by media, right? Because this is what you see in movies. Like we had this whole plan
Mhm.
that I was going to go back to work and Josh was going to go back to work and that Jack would just lay in a bassinet next to Josh's desk at home. Because that's what you see. I mean, like you see it all the time.
Right.
And we're like, oh yeah, we can do that. I mean, I couldn't even
It is just
I could never
insanity.
put him down ever. And thank God I did Google all this stuff because I accidentally found myself in these, forums and chat rooms and Facebook pages of like co-sleeping and like, no, actually, all this stuff that we're talking about now that I know now. So I could, I could change what we were doing and change my perspective. But a lot of people aren't coming across this information because you have to accidentally come upon it because it's not just like laying out there at the doctor's office. Complete opposite is being
No, and
spewed.
you really do. It really takes a toll on you as a new mother because you really do take the brunt of the blame of that. Like my baby is not doing what they're saying it's supposed to be doing. I'm doing something
Right.
wrong. And it is really very damaging.
Yeah. I want to read one more quote from this article. It is within this context. Oh no, here, I'm just start in the middle of the sentence so it makes more sense. For breastfeeding mothers, the decision to bed share proves often to be an unexpected no-brainer, explaining why, perhaps, a quiet but seismic shift towards adopting bed sharing in Western cultures, despite medical recommendations against it, is occurring as breastfeeding reestablishes itself in many Western countries as the cultural norm. Viva la revolution! Like, continue rejecting all this crap and continue to just gobble up this information about bed sharing. Teach your kids as they grow up. Teach your kids about the family bed. Teach your kids about humans, about our species and how we are with each other. And reject that information from your doctor and all the campaigns and all that crap around you. And like, because the quiet but seismic shift, like that just gives me chills. Like it's happening. It's happening. We're pushing back against what capitalism is doing to us. We're pushing back and it's quiet, but it's seismic and it's happening. And we are part of it. We're doing it. We need to keep doing it. And you guys need to do it. You need to teach your kids as they grow up. Don't just let the family bed not be something that you talk about, like talk about it. Like, why do we do this? And let them know this is like something that, people don't. I talk to my kids about breastfeeding all the time, because obviously it's a big topic in our house. But I talk to them about it. I'm like, not everybody breastfeeds. And there's like corporations actually that make a lot of money from destroying breastfeeding relationships early on. And I want them to grow up knowing this stuff.
Yeah. I mean, it makes me think back to when my kids were little and they were in bed with me all the time. And, their father and I split up when they were very, very young. So they don't even like remember him being part of our household. Like they were young. And I remember my mom telling me once, "You're never going to get remarried with those kids in your bed." I remember that. You're never going to find anybody with all
That's
those
really
kids in your
friendly.
bed. Oh, well, I was also going to go to hell because I got divorced, but whatever. So I was like, I don't care. It was just so much easier. She'd be, why don't you just take them back to bed when they come into your bed in the middle of the night? Why don't you just take them back to bed? I'm like, because I'm tired and this is easier. Like, I don't care that they're in bed with me. And then I met a man who didn't care that I had all these kids in my bed. So, you take it as it is. But that was what was right for us. That's what you do. That's what was right for us, to have them in the bed with me all the time. And that's what felt like the norm. So do what feels right for you. Listen to that instinct and just do it safely. That's all we're saying.
Check out the guidelines to safe co-sleeping. It's nothing major.
Oh.
It's not like the hardest thing to do. It's easy. It's super easy.
And then tell everybody you're a breast sleeper.
Yeah.
Because it's a fun term to say.
Yeah. Why is your baby at the breast? He's breast sleeping.
He's breast sleeping.
It's extremely important for attachment. Right now, as we speak, my breast is being imprinted.
You will blow people away with your knowledge.
Yeah. Tell them this. They'll be like, oh, wow.
And
if people just have a little bit of information, like, we can change everyone's mind.
Yeah. So that's your homework for today. Go out there and change the world.
Yeah, do it.
Do it. Do it now.
Happy New Year. Go change the world.
Happy New Year.
Thanks for listening.
Bye.